Welcome everybody to the August edition of Walk with the Doc. Thanks for coming out and having a good walk here. So today's topic is protein. Everybody talks about protein. Everybody says you got to eat more protein. There's influencers, there's athletes, stores put protein in all their bars and everything. Now the US government is even getting into the act. So in January, they came out with new guidelines for what people should be eating. So every 5 years they come out with guidelines. And I gave you the two sets of guidelines here on the first cartoon. The old one is on the left, it's in black. And you look just up at the top here, I'm sorry it's so small. It talks about protein, meat, poultry. It's a small block. It's not emphasized as much. Then the one in January is this one, the yellow one, all the way on the right. They put protein at the top, including red meat and everything, above plant-based proteins. So the new food pyramid was inverted. They recommend, I'm just going to talk about the protein with the new recommendations there. And they doubled the amount of protein that is suggested for people. So that begs the question, should dietary protein be increased? Are high protein diets good for overall health or bad? What are sources of good protein? And what is dietary protein anyway? So we'll answer that one question first. So protein is an essential nutrient. Protein itself is made of amino acids. Protein is needed for growth, for building muscles, bones. Protein is also important for metabolism, making enzymes, hormones, antibodies, so it's an essential thing for our bodies. The body uses 20 different amino acids. 9 of these amino acids are listed as essential because the body can't make them. They have to be ingested, they have to go, you got to get it from your food. The other 11 non-essential amino acids can be synthesized by the body. And just for your information, I gave you the classification and the types of proteins there. The 11 non-essential amino acids are on the right, and 9 essential ones are on the left. A couple of interesting things about proteins. A food is considered a complete protein if it contains all 9 amino acids. For example, pistachio nuts are in that category. Also important to realize that protein isn't stored in the body, like carbohydrates and fat. So you can't eat a lot of protein, it'll be somewhere in the body, you can pull it out and use it if you need it. And also another important point is that proteins aren't peptides. Peptides have been in the news, the FDA is looking at clearing them for use and things. So they're not peptides, that's not what we're talking about. A peptide is 2 amino acids or more that are connected by a bond. So that's the thing I put at the bottom there. Here we have 2 amino acids up on top, and then those 2 amino acids are connected by this peptide bond in red. That's a peptide. So it's different than the proteins we're talking about here. All right, let's get back to the US government. So in January, the dietary guidelines, prior to January, the guidelines had recommended 0.8 grams per kilogram per day of protein intake. The new guidelines increased that to 1.2 to 1.6 grams per kilogram per day. So what kind of numbers are we talking about? If you take somebody who weighs 150 pounds, you have to turn that into kilograms. So you divide by 2.2. 150 pounds is 68 kilograms. So under the old recommendations, they would be ingesting 54 grams per day of protein. It's 0.8 times 68 kilograms. Under the new guidelines, that goes up to 82 grams or 108 grams per day, 1.2 kilograms per kilogram per day, and 1.6 grams per kilogram per day. So it's doubled, it's huge amounts of protein. And it's actually probably hard to get that much protein in the course of a day if you really think about it. So are there any harms in ingesting that much protein? Well, a popular theory was that you have to eat protein because you can lose weight and build muscle. But to do that, you have to do the other part of that. You have to exercise, especially resistance exercises. Eating the protein itself doesn't necessarily build muscles for you. Also, when you're ingesting a lot of protein, there's a lot of calories that comes with it. So if you're not doing the exercise, those calories are turned to fat, carbohydrates. The weight will go up, you'll get obese, and put you at risk for diabetes and then subsequent heart disease. Who else is important to not take extra protein? So one is people with chronic kidney disease. If your kidneys are an issue, you shouldn't be increasing the protein in the diet. Metabolizing that extra protein apparently stresses the kidneys and can lead to worse kidney function and even dialysis down the line. Increased protein is also associated with risk for colon cancer. And there's been multiple studies looking at protein intake, and that ingesting more than 1.6 grams per kilogram per day, there's really no benefit above that. And if you look at influencers and people on the internet, they talk about using even higher doses, 2 grams, 2.5 grams, per day. That's only if you're a weightlifter, a bodybuilder, and you're doing that kind of exercising, Tour de France bike rider, you need that kind of protein. But around 1.6 kilograms per day, the beneficial effects plateau. Above that level, you're not going to build any more muscle, and there's no real weight loss. So in the middle graph, I gave you the amount of protein per day and proportion of the population. So the RDI is what had been recommended at 0.8. That's what the old recommendations were. And if you can see, about 60% of the population are between that 0.8 and 1.5. So that's where most people are. Above 1.5, it's about 25% of the people. So most of the people are in that bell curve. Since I'm a heart doctor, we'll ask, is protein bad for the heart? So one thing, again, the excess calories that you take in when you increase the protein put people at risk for weight gain, diabetes, and then subsequent heart disease. If that protein is red in processed meats, there's lots of saturated fats. That increases LDL, bad cholesterol, increases inflammation. All of that increases the risk for heart artery disease. Studies have shown an association with very high protein diets, increased risk for congestive heart failure, all-cause death, shortened lifespan. And excess protein above that 1.5 grams per kilogram per day increases or accelerates plaque in the heart arteries and increases blockages. So that's on one hand. And most of the studies that have been looking at high protein diets look at people that have been ingesting red and processed meats. How about on the other side? Chicken, seafood, low-fat dairy, soy. Those haven't been shown an increased risk for heart disease. Again, I give you the breakdown here on the next page. This looks at mortality on the y-axis on the left and the source of protein on the x-axis. So being below that dotted line is good. So plant sources of protein, poultry, fish are all good sources of protein and don't increase the risk for all-cause mortality. When you get to unprocessed meats, eggs, and certainly red processed meats, the risk for cardiac mortality goes way up. So let's just review some important protein points. It seems that protein intake follows the old adage that if something is good for you in moderation, it doesn't mean that more of it is better, and it can mean that it's harmful. So again, moderation is good here. Again, eating protein doesn't build the muscle. You need to do the protein plus the exercise, especially resistance exercises, to build the muscle and lose the weight. And again, remember that eating excess protein, the body isn't storing that protein. Mostly it's just getting excreted. So what's the best recommendation for protein intake that I can give you? It seems prudent to follow Michael Pollan, a journalist, and coined this phrase: eat food, not too much, mostly plants. What does he mean by that? Eat food means whole foods, not packaged or processed foods. Not too much, again, means moderation. And for protein, that's between 0.8 and 1.6 grams per kilogram per day. Now again, if you're a muscle weightlifter, bodybuilder, endurance athlete may need more protein. But also as we get older, we may need more protein as well. You want to use that protein along with exercise to reverse or try to stop the muscle wastage that you get as you get older. As we get older, we lose muscle mass, muscle strength. So you want to maybe go on the higher end of the protein intake, and again, couple it with exercise to prevent that from happening. And mostly plants, again, looking for plant-based protein over animal-based proteins for your protein in your diet. So I'll give you two of my favorite proteins, my lunch every day is Greek yogurt and nuts. Both have been shown to have good cardiac outcomes. Nuts are a great source of plant-based protein. If you follow a Mediterranean diet and supplement it with nuts, you reduce the risk for heart attack, stroke, cardiovascular death by 28%. That's the same level that you get with taking a statin. So just following the diet and eating nuts, you're doing well there. Greek yogurt also has plenty of protein, helps with lowering blood pressure, lowering LDL, and lowers heart risk as well. I gave you a nice table on the last page there too, looking at protein and the serving size. So just for regular non-fat yogurt, 6 ounces, protein 7 grams, non-fat Greek yogurt, again 6 ounces, 18 grams of protein, so a lot more than just your regular old yogurt. But look at the calories, from 85 to 189, so almost double. With the nuts, it's all in a quarter, a cup of nuts. Walnuts, 4.5, pine nuts, 4.5 grams of protein. Cashews, pistachios, as I said, are a complete protein. Almonds, hazelnuts. So pick your favorite nut and make it part of your day there. Last thing, I just gave you a good schematic on which proteins are heart healthy and which to avoid. So go take a look at your in your refrigerator, start looking at your protein intakes and get your resistance exercises in and keep it going. Thanks for coming out. Yes, Wendy.
Can you talk about eggs for a minute?
Can I talk about eggs?
Yeah, because in the picture, eggs are in the heart healthy.
Yeah.
On the graph.
Yeah. So I guess it used to be thought that, eating lots of eggs wasn't good for you, lots of cholesterol and stuff, but sort of people have walked that back. So, an egg or two each week certainly isn't going to be harmful and may be helpful too. So we've walked that back over the years. So have your egg, have your omelet. Yeah.
I wonder about the vegetarian. They don't have the animal protein at all, just a plain protein.
Right.
Is that not good? Is it balanced? I heard that we need.
So vegetarian diets, yes, they're mostly based on plant-based protein. And you have to make sure you're getting enough protein in that diet. So you might have to eat a little bit more to get the same amount.
I mean, is animal protein critical too?
Is animal protein critical? No.
No?
No.
I mean, I heard
It doesn't matter where you're getting your protein from, but plant-based protein is the way to go these days, yeah.
How does the government figure out how much to actually need?
The question is, how much does the government figure out how much to eat? I'm not going to answer that one because I have no idea how they're doing this. I'm going to have to ask a government official on that one. Good. Well, thanks much for everyone coming out. Next one is September 12th. Hope to see you all then.
I don't know, I may misheard. I heard something say any cholesterol important in some. But I think I'm about the zero.
I don't think it's ever been said.
Someone said that, yeah. I'm not sure.
I don't think so. Don't worry, you'll be okay with eating plant-based protein.
My sister-in-law is a vegetarian, that's why I asked her.
Doesn't mean you won't have something. It's lower than risk.
She's on the stroke.
Yeah.
Because I wonder about anything to eat. There's nothing to eat.